Hello everyone, welcome back to the one more session of this costing and FM MCQs. So in this particular session, we are going to deal with financial management MCQs. So whatever they have uploaded in the MCQ portal for the financial management part, we are going to solve all the MCQs. So in the costing part, we have completed both choose and also the match the following. Whereas this true or false is left over, we'll see it in the final end of this particular video itself. So now moving on to financial management. So just the same PDF which they uploaded for the costing and from in that itself, in second part they have given financial management MCQs. So moving on to the financial management MCQs. First we will solve the choices, that is choose the most appropriate one for the given four alternatives. Question number 1. Which of the following is the main objective of financial management? So first, what is financial management? Financial management is used to manage the finances. So basically how we are procuring your funds and how we are paying interest, or how much is the cost of capital for a particular finance like which have been procured. So that is the financial management, managing the finances. So what is the main objective of the financial management? They have given different options. First option is revenue maximization. Obviously, financial management focus on revenue maximization and also profit maximization. So revenue maximization, profit maximization, wealth maximization, cost minimization. Which is the main objective? The main objective of financial management is wealth maximization. In this wealth maximization itself, this revenue maximization is included, profit maximization is included, cost minimization is included. So basically the wealth maximization is the main objective of financial management. So for question number 1, option C is the right answer. Then moving on to question number 2. Which one of the following activities is outside the purview of financial decision in financial management? See, basically what is financial decision? Financial decision is the decision taken in respect of finances, that is in respect of procurement of finances or utilization. How well you are procuring finances at minimum cost. So that is the financial decision, financing decision. Whether your cost of debt, how much should be the financial leverage, and whether your cost of debt is more than your cost of equity. Put together, what is your total cost of capital? All these decisions are included in the financing decision. So in the given activities, that is in the given following below 4 activities, which is not the financing decision activity. First, identification of source of funds. So identifying the source of funds, it is a financing activity. Source of fund is nothing but whether it is debt fund or equity fund or preference dividend fund, preference capital fund. So identifying source of funds, that is the financing activity. Then measurement of cost of funds, that is also a financial decision, because measuring whether your cost of equity or cost of debt, whichever is lower, which fund should be procured, that is called measurement of cost of funds. That is also a financing decision. Then deciding on the time of raising the funds, that is when to raise the funds, that decision is also a financing decision. So all three are financing decisions. The last is deciding on the utilization of funds. See, utilization of funds is basically an operating and investing activity. It is not a financing activity. Procuring your funds at the low cost is your financing activity, and utilizing the funds can be of 2 activities. One is operating activity, that is for the running the business. Then for the investing activity, that is the investing of the funds which has been procured. So basically this deciding on the utilization of funds is not the financing decision. It is an operating or investing decision. So for question number 2, option D is the right answer. So next is question number 3. A firm has a capital of 10 lakhs. So invested capital is 10 lakhs, sales of 5 lakhs, gross profit of 2 lakhs, and expenses of 1 lakh. So net profit ratio is, what is net profit? Net profit is nothing but gross profit minus expenses. That is net profit. So net profit ratio formula is net profit divided by sales into 100. So first to find what is net profit. Gross profit minus expenses. 2 lakhs minus 1 lakh, you will get 1 lakh. So 1 lakh is your net profit divided by sales of 5 lakhs into 100. So just calculate 1 lakh divided by 5 lakh into 100, you are getting 20%. So option C is the right answer. For question number 3, option C is the right answer. Net profit ratio formula is net profit divided by sales into 100. Here we should find what is net profit. Net profit is equal to gross profit minus expenses. So 2 lakh minus 1 lakh, you're getting 1 lakh is the net profit. Divided by sales of 5 lakhs into 100, you're getting 20%. So option C, 20% is the right answer. Next, question number 4. Which of the following forms of equity financing is especially designed for funding high risk and high reward ratios? See, they are asking which of the following forms of equity financing is especially designed for funding high risk and high reward projects. That is, if suppose you are involved in high risk or high reward projects, basically where there is high risk, there will be high reward. So the projects which have high risk and high reward, for that a special equity financing is being followed. That is venture capital. So venture capital is basically the form of equity that is designed for funding high risk and high reward projects. So venture capital is the right answer. So question number 4, venture capital is the right answer. Then moving on to question number 5. A process through which loans and other receivables are underwritten and sold in the form of asset is known as, see, basically particular asset which has been underwritten. For example, suppose you have a fixed asset, that is building. You are using that building documents and procuring loan. That is called pledging your documents and getting a loan. That is also an underwritten of asset. But whereas a process through which loans and other receivables, loans which has been given or other receivables like you have a bills of exchange or other receivables, like you have a document which is going to be which you are going to receive an amount at a particular period. So all these loans and other receivables, it can be underwritten in the sense it can be sold as an asset, and it is known as securitization. So securitization is nothing but selling your loans or other receivable in the form of asset, so that the person who is purchasing it will procure it at the date of that particular date. That is, suppose I'm running a company, I'm going to receive 10 lakhs. I have a bills of exchange. So I'm giving that bill of exchange to some other person and I'm selling it for a particular rate. And that person who has purchased that bill of exchange, he is going to submit that and get the cash from that particular person from whom the bill of exchange has been written. So the process through which loans and other receivables are underwritten and sold in the form of asset is known as securitization. Next, question number 6. In net profit ratio, the denominator is net sales. See, net profit divided by net sales into 100, that is the net profit ratio. So option B is the right answer. You can expect this question number 6 kind of questions in the MCQs in exam. So they are going to ask the formulas too. So be thorough with your formulas. Next, question number 7. Current assets 20 lakhs, current liabilities 10 lakhs, stock 2 lakhs. Then what is liquid ratio? What is the formula for liquid ratio? Liquid assets divided by current liabilities. So liquid assets is nothing but current assets minus stock minus receivables, bills receivables. So what is your stock here? 2 lakhs. There is no bills receivables. So stock is not a liquid asset. So if you take it off from the current assets, so total current assets minus stock, you will get liquid assets. 20 lakh minus 2 lakh, you are getting 18 lakhs. So 18 lakhs is the liquid asset divided by current liabilities is 10 lakhs. 18 lakh divided by 10 lakh, you are getting 1.8. So option B, 1.8 times is the right answer. So question number 10, they are asking liquid ratio, man. So liquid ratio is equal to liquid assets divided by current liabilities. Liquid assets is equal to current assets minus stock. So 2 lakh minus 20 lakh minus 2 lakh, you are getting 18 lakh. So 18 lakh divided by 10 lakh, you are getting 1.8 times. That is option B. Next, question number 8. Annual credit sales rupees 4 lakh. Average collection period 45 days. What is the average debtor? So they are asking what is the average debtor. So average debtor. What is the formula for debtor turnover ratio? Average collection period is nothing but see, first we should find debtor turnover ratio. Debtor turnover ratio formula is annual credit sales divided by average debtors receivable. So here average debtors, how can we find? Just first multiply and find what is the debtors turnover ratio. So average collection period, that is total days divided by average collection period, you will get debtor turnover ratio. So debtor turnover ratio is equal to 360 divided by 45, that is 8 times. So debtor turnover ratio is 8 times. So what is the formula for debtor turnover ratio? Annual credit sales divided by average debtor. So you know what is annual credit sales. And formula for debtor turnover ratio is annual credit sales divided by average debtor. So if average debtors comes to the left hand side, it will become average debtors is equal to annual credit sales divided by debtor turnover ratio. So average debtors is equal to annual credit sales is 4 lakhs. divided by debtor turnover ratio is 8, which we found. So 4 lakhs divided by 8, 50,000 is the average debtor. So option C is the right answer. Simple. See, what is the debtor turnover ratio formula? Average credit sales, that is annual credit sales divided by average debtor. So you know what is annual credit sales and debtor turnover ratio. Debtor turnover ratio we found by dividing 360 divided by 45. That is debtor turnover ratio of 8 times. Okay. So debtor turnover ratio is 8 times. So debtor turnover ratio is equal to average annual credit sales divided by average debtor. So denominator average debtors, if it comes to the left hand side, it will become numerator. So average debtors is equal to annual credit sales divided by debtor turnover ratio. So average debtors is equal to 4 lakhs divided by 8. That is 50,000 is the average debtors. So option C is the right answer. Option C is the right answer for question number 8. Then moving on to question number 9. Investment in a project is 200 lakhs. Net present value is 50 lakhs. Then amount of cash inflows. See, cash inflow minus cash outflow is equal to net present value. Here we have what is cash outflow and net present value. So cash inflow they are asking. Cash inflow is equal to net present value plus cash outflow. So 200 lakhs plus 50 lakhs is the 250 lakhs is the cash inflow. Simple. What is net present value formula? NPV is equal to cash inflow minus cash outflow. Here we have what is NPV and cash outflow. So cash outflow should come to the left hand side. It will become positive. So net present value plus cash outflow is equal to cash inflow. So what is net present value? 850 lakhs. Cash outflow is 200 lakhs. 50 lakhs plus 200 lakhs is equal to cash inflow. That is 250 lakhs. Simple. All are simple formulas which you should use in MCQ. So question number 9 answer is option D, 250 lakhs. Next, moving on to question number 10. PAT of a company is 100 lakhs. Okay, PAT is nothing but profit after tax of a company. That is after deducting taxes. What is your profit left over? 100 lakhs. Profit after taxes 100 lakhs. Number of equity shares of 10 each with a capital of 50 lakhs. See, there are 50 lakhs is a capital and number of equity shares is 10 rupees each. So 50 lakhs divided by 10. Then how many number of equity shares? 5 lakh equity shares has been issued. So EPS, they are asking earnings per share. What is your PAT divided by number of shares? You will get what is your EPS. Here PAT is 100 divided by what is the number of shares? Number of equity shares we can find by dividing total capital divided by number value per equity share. 50 lakhs divided by 10 lakhs, dividing 5 lakhs. 100 divided by 5, that is 20. So 20 should be your EPS. Here 20 is not given in the option. So option D is the right answer. That is none of these. So option 10, that is question number 10, option D is the right answer. None of this because EPS is 20. So moving on to question number 11. Next, see, you would have already studied this particular leveraging chapter, capital leverage chapter. You know what is three types of different leverage. One is operating leverage, then operating leverage, financing leverage, and total leverage. That is 3 types of leverages. So operating leverage is nothing but contribution divided by EBIT, and financing leverage is EBIT divided by EBT, and total leverage, that is put together both operating leverage and financing leverage is contribution divided by EBT. So here they have asked formula for degree of operating leverage, that is contribution divided by EBIT is the right answer. Excuse me. So we'll continue with question number 12. Question number 12. Cost of goods sold is 8,000. Gross margin is 5,000. Then revenue will be, see, cost of goods sold plus gross profit will be your total sales value. Here they have given cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold 8,000 plus gross profit of 5,000, you will get total sales value. So 8,000 plus 5,000. What is the sales revenue? 13,000. So option D is the right answer. Question number 12, option D is the right answer. That is rupees 13,000. Next, question number 13. Present value of cash inflow is 10 lakhs and project from a project. And initial investment is 7.5 lakhs. So cash inflow minus cash outflow is nothing but NPV. So present value of cash inflow, that is 10 lakhs minus 7.5 lakhs. You are getting 2.5 lakhs. So NPV of the project is 2.5 lakhs. That is option D is the right answer. Next, question number 14. Cash and bank 20,000, debtors 2 lakhs, stock 2,80,000. All these are current assets. And current liabilities, that is creditors and bills payable 1,50,000. Then working capital is. So what is working capital? Working capital is nothing but current assets minus current liabilities. So here total all the current assets. Cash in bank is the current assets. So 20,000 plus debtors is current assets 2 lakhs plus stock is current assets 2,80,000. So 20,000 plus 2 lakh plus 2,80,000, you are getting 5 lakhs. Minus what is your total current liabilities? 1 lakh plus 50,000, that is 1,50,000. So 5 lakh minus 1,50,000 is the 3,50,000 is your working capital. So working capital is nothing but current assets minus current liabilities. So current assets is 5 lakh, current liabilities is 1,50,000. So 3 lakh minus 1,50,000, you are getting 5 lakhs minus 1,50,000, you are getting 3,50,000. So option C is the right answer. So moving on to next question, that is question number 15. 1 lakh 10% debentures of 100 each of a company. So 10% debentures, 1 lakh debentures has been issued at 100 rupees each. So 1 lakh into 100. So total debentures value is 1 crore. The interest payable for quarter is, so 10% is your interest rate for a per annum. So 1 crore into 10% into, for quarter, what is the number of months? 3 by 12. So 1 crore into 10% into 3 divided by 12. You are getting 2,50,000 for quarter. That is the interest payable. So option B is the right answer. Simple. Total number of debentures is 1 lakh. And value per debenture is 100. So 1 lakh into 100, you are getting 1 crore debenture value. So 1 crore into 10% is your interest payable for per annum. So per annum interest payable is 1 crore into 10%, that is 10 lakhs. They are asking for a quarter. So 10 lakhs into 3 divided by 12, that is per quarter interest payable, that is 2,50,000. So option B is the right answer. Next, moving on to question number 16. Gross margin is added to cost of goods sold for calculating revenue. Simple. Gross margin is nothing but gross profit plus cost of goods sold. You will get your total sales revenue. So option A is the right answer. Next, moving on to question number 17. Cash flow statement is also known as, so what is basically a cash flow statement? Cash flow statement shows what is the cash inflow and outflow for a particular period, and what is the opening cash flow and the closing cash, opening cash and the closing cash balances that should match with the balance sheet. That is the cash flow statement. So cash flow statement comprises of three activities, that is operating activities, investing activities, financing activities. So that is cash flow statement. So basically what does cash flow statement show? It shows the changes in the cash position, that is changes in the financial position on the basis on cash basis, and also it also shows the variation in cash in the for the certain period. So these are the two items which cash flow statement is shown. So option A and option B are right answer. That is option A, cash flow statement shows the changes in financial position on cash basis, and also it is a statement accounting for variation in cash. So option C is the right answer. That is both A and B. That is the cash flow statement. Next, degree of financial leverage of business indicates the financial risk. So operating leverage indicates the operating risk, financial leverage indicates the financial risk, and total leverage that indicates the total risk. So here they have asked degree of financial leverage of business indicates the financial risk. So that is the right answer. Option C is the right answer. Next, question number 19. Which of the following is not the character of GDR? So what is GDR? Global Depository Receipt. So global depository receipt is nothing but an instrument, which is negotiable instrument. So it is an instrument which has been traded in the international market. Basically, this GDR is in US dollars. So they are asked which of the following is not a characteristic of GDR. So option A, it is a negotiable instrument. That is the right. Then option C, freely tradable international market. That is also a characteristic. Then option D, denominated in US dollars. That is also right. Then option B is the right answer. That is carrying voting rights. So GDR doesn't carry any voting rights. It is simply a negotiable instrument which can be traded in the international market, and it is denominated in US dollars. It doesn't carry any voting rights. That is question number 19. Option B is the right answer. Next, question number 20. Which of the following is the feature of factoring? So factoring is nothing but a short-term borrowing which has been used. Factoring is basically used for short-term borrowing, and it is never used in the international business. So they are asked which of the following is the feature of factor of borrowing? Option A, tool of short-term borrowing. That is the right answer. So option A is the right answer. Whereas option B, purchase of export bill only. That is not the right feature of factoring. Then used in export business only. No, it is used in the business. Then done without done without recourse to the client. So that is also a not right option. So option A is the right answer. That is factoring is a tool of short-term borrowing. So option 20, question number 20, option A, that is tool of short-term borrowing is the right answer. So moving on to next question, that is question number 21. Which of the following is the profitability ratio? So you would have already completed this ratio analysis. So it is segregated into 3 or 4 segments, that is long-term solvency ratio, short-term solvency ratios, turnover ratios, and profitability ratios. And they are given 4 ratios, and which one is the profitability ratio they are asking. Proprietary ratio, it is not a profitability ratio, it falls under solvency ratio. Debt to equity ratio is also in long-term solvency ratio. Price earning ratio. See, price earning ratio, what is the formula for price earning ratio? PE ratio, market price divided by earnings. So it is based on the earnings. Earnings is nothing but profitability. So price earning ratio is nothing but a profitability ratio. And next they have given fixed asset ratio, which is nothing but fixed asset turnover. It falls under turnover ratio. So here price earning ratio is the profitability ratio. So which of the following, they might ask this kind of question also, that is which one is profitability ratio, which one is solvency ratio, like that they can ask. So here they have asked profitability ratio, so price earning ratio, option C is the right answer. So next question number 22, what they have given, gross profit margin is 20% and they have given gross profit, that is 54,000. So they are asking what is sales. Gross profit margin on what you will calculate, on sales only you will calculate gross profit margin. So 54,000 is the 20%. That is, this 54,000 is the total gross profit, which is nothing but 20% of sales. If 20% of sales is 54,000, then what is 100% you should calculate? Simple, 54,000 divided by 20 into 100. You will get your total sales. That is 2,70,000. So option B is the right answer, 2,70,000. Simple. They have given gross profit margin and you know what is gross profit. So gross profit divided by gross profit margin, you will get what is your total sales. That is 2,70,000. So next, question number 23. EBIT, that is earnings before interest and taxes, 11,20,000. Profit before taxes, 3,20,000. Fixed cost is 7 lakhs. And they have given three details and 3 values, and also they have asked us operating leverage. So what is the formula for operating leverage? Contribution divided by EBIT. Here we know what is EBIT. We should find what is contribution. Then we should calculate the operating leverage by applying the formula contribution divided by EBIT. So what is the contribution formula? Fixed cost plus what is your profit. That is, see, in marginal cost, what you will do? Sales minus variable cost is your contribution. From that, if you take off fixed cost, you will get your profit. So here we know what is the profit, EBIT, 11,20,000. So profit plus fixed cost, you will get contribution. So 11,20,000 plus fixed cost of 7 lakhs. How much you are getting? You are getting 18,20,000. So that 18,20,000 is nothing but contribution. So operating leverage formula is contribution divided by EBIT. So contribution is 18,20,000 divided by EBIT is 11,20,000. So what is the ratio? What is the value you are getting? 1.625. So contribution divided by EBIT is nothing but 18,20,000 divided by 11,20,000. You are getting 1.625. That is option A. 1.625. So the formula for operating leverage, just remember, for operating leverage, contribution divided by EBIT. Then financial leverage, EBIT divided by EBT. Then for total leverage, contribution divided by EBT. So here operating leverage they are, so contribution divided by EBIT, 18,20,000 divided by 11,20,000. Just take down. If you have printed copy, just next to this 23 itself, just take it down. 18,20,000 divided by 11,20,000 is equal to 1.625. So that is the answer for question number 23. So next, moving on to question number 24. Which of the following is not a source of fund? What is meant by source of fund? Source of fund is nothing but where a fund is coming in. That is called source of fund. And if you are using your fund, applying your fund, it is called utilization of fund. Source of fund is where your fund is coming into the business, and application of fund is applying the funds for the business. So source of fund means procurement of capital. So when issue of capital, that is when you are issuing equity share capital, what is coming in? Cash is coming in, which is nothing but source of fund. So issue of capital is a source of fund. And issue of debenture, when you are issuing debentures, cash is coming in, that is procurement of funds by issue of debentures. So it is also a source of funds. Decrease in working capital. See, working capital means a certain portion of amount you are investing in working capital. That is for day-to-day business. When there is decrease in working capital, you have invested 1 lakh rupees in working capital, and next year suddenly you have decreased your working capital amount to 80,000. Then 20,000 again it is coming into your business as source. That is, when you are reducing your working capital, that excess amount which is left over, it is incoming of funds. That is, source is coming in. So it is also a source of funds. Then increase in working capital. So option D, increasing working capital means, suppose last year your working capital is 1 lakh and this year you have increased it to 1,50,000. Then extra 50,000 amount you should invest it. You should apply it for working capital. So this is not a source of fund. This is application of fund. Option D is the right answer. That is increasing working capital is the application of fund and not a source of fund. In the question they have asked which is not a source of fund. So increasing working capital. Simple. Issue of capital, issue of debentures, decreasing working capital. All these are source of fund. In all these situations, cash is coming into the business. Whereas when there is increase in working capital, you are applying the fund. Cash is going out to the working capital. You are investing in the working capital. It is application of fund. So next is question number 25. Determinants of credit policy relates to. So when you are determining credit policy, what do you determine? You determine the credit standards, you determine the credit terms, you determine the collection procedures. So all the above is the determinants of credit policy. So when you are forming a credit policy, that is when you are making any sales on credit, then you will form a credit policy. So these are the different policies which will be followed by the debtor. So in that you will be having credit standards, credit terms, collection procedures, everything. So it is called all this will be contained in the credit policy. So option D is the right answer. That is all the above. Next question number 26. The following is not a discounted cash flow technique. So what is meant by discounted cash flow technique? First you should know. Discounted cash flow technique is nothing but a particular formula which is using present value of cash inflow or present value of cash. That is, see, when you are converting future cash into present cash, it is known as discounted cash flow. Okay. Suppose at the end of 10 years, I am receiving 15 lakh rupees. If you are converting it to the present value, then it is called discounted cash flow technique. So in NPV, you will use that discounted factor. That is, you will convert the future cash into present cash. So it is a discounted cash flow technique. PI means profitability index, which formula for it is cash inflow, present value of cash inflow divided by present value of cash outflow. So it also uses discounted cash flow technique. Next, option D, IRR. IRR is nothing but internal rate of return. It also uses the discounted cash flow technique. So accounting rate of return is the right answer. What is the formula for accounting of average rate of return? What is your return divided by average investment into 100? So there you are not using any present value of present value, that is present value factor. So it is not a discounted cash flow technique. So option C is the right answer. That is accounting of average rate of return. So for 26, option C is the right answer. Other three is a discounted cash flow technique. That is, on all other three, you are using present value factors in order to convert the future cash into present value. Next, question number 27. Beta of the security measures its. What is meant by beta of the security? Beta of the security is nothing but a market risk of the security. That is, you will compare the beta with the market risk which you are taking compared to the risk-free return. So what is the market risk minus what is the risk-free? If you multiply it with the beta, you will get the risk which has been taken by the particular fund more than the market. That is, apart from the market, more than the market, what is the risk involved in the particular security? It is measured by the beta. So it is nothing but a market risk. So option C, that is for 27, beta of the security measures the market risk. So for question number 27, option C is the right answer. Next, question number 28. Following method is also known as benefit cost ratio. See, benefit cost ratio, which means profitability index ratio. So profitability index means present value of cash inflow divided by present value of cash outflow. That is nothing but profitability index. So you just remember, benefit cost ratio means profitability index ratio. Okay, profitability index. They may not give you directly profitability, find profitability index. They will ask you find benefit cost ratio. So that time you should remember that profitability index is nothing but benefit cost ratio. Next, question number 29. Return on investment can be decomposed into following ratios. See, what is the formula for return on investment? What is your total return divided by investment into 100? That is the formula for return on investment. Return divided by investment into 100. So it can be divided into two formulas. What are the two formulas? See, net profit into asset turnover ratio or overall turnover ratio. What is the formula for net profit ratio? Net profit divided by sales. And what is the formula for overall turnover ratio? Sales divided by total capital or total investment. So net profit divided by sales into sales divided by total investment. If you take off on the both sides sales, you will get net profit divided by investment into 100, which is nothing but return on investment. So option D is the right answer. Net profit into overall turnover ratio. Simple. Return on investment formula is return divided by investment into 100. Point number one, remember it. Return divided by investment into 100. So this should be divided into two formulas. For return, what you are doing, net profit ratio. Net profit ratio is nothing but net profit divided by sales. and overall turnover ratio is sales divided by investment. So when sales in the net profit, sales is in the denominator, and overall turnover, sales is in the numerator. Both will get knocked off. So net profit divided by investment into 100, which is nothing but return on investment. So option D is the right answer. Then question number 30. Which one of the following activities is outside the purview of dividend decision in the financial management? So what is meant by dividend decision? Dividend decision is nothing but making a decision on how much should be distributed as dividend and how much should be retained as retained earnings. So what is the payout ratio will be decided in the dividend decision. Okay. So which of the following is outside the purview of dividend decision? First point number A, option A, what is they have given? Identification of profit after tax. So without profit after tax, you cannot decide your dividend decision. So it is the activity, that is, this is the important for making dividend decision. Next, measurement of cost of funds. So irrespective of your cost of funds, it is not going to disturb your dividend decision. Whether your cost of fund is 10% or 20% or even 90%, it is not going to disturb your dividend decision, because cost is different and dividend is different. Cost is mainly the cost of capital. It is like cost is discussed in the cost of capital, that is when procuring the funds, and dividend is discussed when at the time of distribution of dividends, that is at the time of giving the return. So measurement of cost of funds is entirely in the procurement of funds, and distribution of funds is the dividend decision. So option B is the right answer, that is measurement of cost of funds. Next, option C, deciding the payout ratio. Payout ratio is nothing but dividend 1 minus dividend ratio. So it is important in the dividend decision. Next, considering issue of bonus shares to equity shareholders. So it is also important dividend decision, because it affects the dividend decision. Instead of giving dividend, they can buy back the shares or issue the bonus shares. So that is also important part of dividend decision. So option B, measurement of cost of funds, which is entirely looking at the procurement of funds. It is not involved in the dividend decision. So option B is the right answer. Next, question number 31. Which of the following does not help to increase the current ratio? So how can you increase the current ratio? Only when there is increase in current assets or decrease in current liabilities, current ratio can be increased. Simple. Current ratio can be increased when there is increase in current assets or when there is decrease in current liabilities. So option A, issue of debentures to buy stock. So when you are buying stock, your current asset is going up. So ultimately your current ratio is going to go up. So option A is will increase the current ratio. Here they ask which does not help to increase the current ratio. So option A increases the current ratio. Then issue of debentures to pay creditors. So when you pay creditors, your current liabilities will come down. So this will also increase the current ratio. When there is increase in current assets or decrease in current liabilities, your current ratio will go up. So next, sale of investment to pay creditors. When you are paying creditors, your current liabilities will come down. Ultimately, your current ratio will increase. Next, availing bank overdraft to buy machine. So when you are availing bank overdraft to buy a machine, your bank overdraft is going to go up. That is, your current liabilities is going to increase, which will in turn affect the current ratio, and your current ratio will go down. So option D is the right answer. When your bank overdraft is increased, your current ratio is going to decrease. So for question number 31, option D is the right answer. Then question number 32. Which of the following statement is correct? Which of the following statement is correct? Option A, a higher receivable turnover is not desirable. What is receivable turnover? It is nothing but debtor turnover ratio. When there is more debtor turnover ratio, your business is doing well. So option A is not the right answer, because they are told higher receivable turnover is not desirable. No, it is desirable. Higher turnover ratio is desirable. How much higher your turnover ratio is, receivable turnover ratio is, that much sound your debtors, that much sound is your credit sales. So option A is not the right answer. Next, option B, interest coverage ratio depends upon the tax rate. No, interest coverage ratio depends upon the interest rate. So it is not depending upon the tax rate. So in the interest coverage ratio, you are not going to deal with your tax rate. You are going to deal with your interest rate. So option B is also not the right answer. Option C, increasing net profit means increasing sales. No, net profit can be increased even by reducing the fixed cost or reducing the expenses. So without increasing your sales also, you can increase your net profit. So option C is also not the right answer. Next, option D, lower debt equity ratio means lower financial risk. True, when your debt equity ratio is lower, your financial risk is lower. How much higher your debt equity ratio is, that much higher your financial risk. So option D is the right answer. This statement is correct. How much lower your debt equity ratio is, that much lower your financial risk. So for 32, option D is the right answer. Next, moving on to question number 33. shareholders' wealth is a firm in a firm is reflected by. So how is the shareholders' wealth in a firm is reflected by? What is the formula for calculating the shareholders' wealth? Simple. You can multiply your number of shares with the market price of the per share. So option D is the right answer. Shareholders of the firm is reflected by change in the market price per share of the firm. If your market price per share of the firm is increasing, then your shareholders' wealth is affected and it will be increasing. When your market price is falling down, then your shareholders' wealth is decreasing. So option D is the right answer. Next, question number 34. So see, I guess I am going a little faster. See, like you don't have to waste your time here watching, like wasting your time by going slowly. So I just want to go it. I move the questions a little faster. So what you should do is you just work it out or just watch the video. After that, using the printout or using your MCQ PDF, just take a Xerox of it or like take a printout of it, then solve everything, all the MCQs which has been discussed in the video, so that you will have good command over the MCQs which has been uploaded in the website. So max to max, they'll ask at least 20 to 30 marks from this MCQ portal, because this is going to be first attempt that is on the online mode. So ultimately it is going to be little liberal. So you can expect this kinds of MCQs only in the exam. So what I will suggest is just download the PDF, take a printout of it and solve all the PDF, not only this FM, costing and FM, solve all the 8 subjects PDF, so that you'll get that edge that you don't have to worry about your securing 40 marks at least, like minimum marks, if you are going through all these things. If you go through all these things, definitely you can score 40 marks. And scoring exemption is in your hand. How well you prepare for your exams, for the concepts, like all the other chapters. So moving on to question number 34. The excess of current assets over current liabilities is called working capital. It can be also called as net current assets, net working capital, or working capital. So option D is the right answer. That is all of the above. Next, question number 35. Profit maximization is the main objective of a business because option A, profit acts as a measure of efficiency. True. Only profit is acting as a measure of efficiency. If your profit is more, business is more efficient. If your profit is less, your business is inefficient. So option A is the right answer. Next, take option B. It serves as a protection against the risk. See, profit is the reward for the risk which has been taken. So it is a protection against the risk. Whatever the risk has been taken by the investor who is an equity shareholder or a person who has invested in debentures, anyone, profit serves as a protection against the risk. So option A and B both are right. So option C is the right answer. That is both option A and B. Next, question number 36. Stockholders' wealth is equal to number of shares owned into current stock price per share. So all the 3 options we have repeated the same. So any option is right. That is option A, B, C. So right answer is option A. That is number of shares owned into current stock price per share, which is the market price per share. So number of shares owned into current stock price per share is the stockholders' wealth. That is shareholders' wealth. Next, question number 37. Working capital management refers to trade-off between liquidity and the profitability, or risk and the profitability. Both will be considered because it reserves as a trade-off. That is, it acts as a trade-off between the liquid risk and the profitability. So both of the above. That is option C is the right answer. Option C is the right answer. So next, moving on to question number 38. Which one of the following is a medium-term source? So medium-term source is nothing but funds which can be procured for the medium term, that is from 1 year to 5 years. Public deposits, lease financing, euro debt issue, all of the above. So public deposits falls under medium-term source, and lease financing is also medium-term source. So all these are medium-term source. So all of the above. Option D is the right answer. Next, moving on to question number 39. The lease period in such a contract is less than the useful life of an asset. See, in a particular lease agreement, if lease agreement, that is number of years that has been let out for lease, that lease contract years is less than the total useful life of the asset. Suppose total useful life of the particular machinery is 15 years and lease agreement is only for 5 years, then it is an operating lease, because your lease agreement is less than the useful life of the asset. It is called operating lease. If lease agreement is equal to or more than the useful life of the asset, then it is called financial lease. So if lease agreement is less than the number of years of the useful life of asset, then operating lease or service lease. So next, moving on to question number 40. Which one of the is the benefits of factoring? better cash flows, better assets management, better working capital management, all of the above. So option D, all of the above. All these are benefits of factoring. So D, that is question number 40. Option D is the right answer. Next, find the present value of rupees 1,000 receivable 6 years, and the rate of discount is 10%. Simple. Using the present value factor table, you can find what is the 10% discount rate for 6 years, or using calculator also you can find. I'll tell you how to find using calculator. Using calculator, see 100 divided by what is the percentage of rate of return? 110. So 100 divided by 100 plus 10 is 100 divided by 110, which is also called as 1 divided by 1.1. So first calculate 1 divided by 1.1. You are getting 0.909. It is for the first year. Discount rate for the first year is 9.909. For second year is 826. Third year 759. Fourth year 0.683. Fifth year 0.620. Sixth year 0.564. So for the fifth year, the present value factor is 0.564. If you multiply this 0.564 into the amount receivable at the end of 6 years, that is 1,000 rupees receivable 6 years. That is at the end of the 6th year, 1,000 rupees receivable. So 1,000 into 0.564, you are getting 564.5. So option A is the right answer. Using the present value factor table also, you can easily find what is the 10% discount rate for 6th year. So for the 6th year, 10% discount rate is 0.564. So if you multiply that with the 1,000 rupees receivable at the end of 6th year, that is 564.5. Option A is the right answer. Next, moving on to question number 42. The term dash means manipulation of accounts in a way so as to conceal the vital facts and present the financial statements in a way to show better position than what it actually is. So basically, in your financial statement, if you are hiding any facts and manipulating the accounts, it is called as window dressing. So simple. Window dressing means, I'll explain you simple words. Like window dressing is nothing but manipulating your accounts, manipulating your financial statements, and concealing the important facts to be present in the financial statement in order to show the financial statements in a better position. That is called window dressing. So answer for question number 42 is window dressing. So moving on to question number 43. Collateralized borrowing and lending obligation is a discounted instrument availed in an electronic book entry for maturity period ranging from 1 to 19 days. So this particular CBLO is a discounted instrument. It is also an instrument which can be procured for the procurement of funds. It can be used. So it is for the maturity period for the CBLO is 1 to 19 days, 1 day to 19 days. So question number 43 answer is option A. Then 44, IPO. What is meant by IPO? Initial public offering. So option D is the right answer. IPO refers to initial public offering. So what is meant by IPO? You need to understand what is IPO also. IPO is the first time of the company, that is shares which has been issued for the first time by a company. So it is called IPO. IPO is nothing but simple. A shares of a company issued to public for the first time. It is called initial public offering. Then subsequently, if they are issuing for the second time, it is called SPO. SPO means subsequent public offering. So question number 45 is SPO refers to option D, subsequent public offering. That is the second and subsequent time a company raises money from the public directly. So it is called SPO. IPO means initial public offering. SPO means subsequent public offering. These are the important terms. Then 46, question number 46. Liquid liability is equal to current liability minus bank overdraft minus cash credit. So the formula for liquid liability is current liability minus bank overdraft minus cash credit. Next, question number 47. Ratio analysis is a process of determining and interpreting numerical relationships based on all the above, that is financial values, financial statements, or financial numerical information. So all of the above. Ratio analysis is nothing but it is process of determining and interpreting the numerical relationship. What is the numerical relationship? If suppose profitability ratios, if you are finding GP ratio, then gross profit and sales you are comparing. Then you are interpreting and finding the ratio. So gross profit divided by sales into 100, that is GP ratio. So basically ratio analysis is determining and interpreting the numerical relationship and based on the financial values, financial statements, and financial numerical information. Then ratio analysis is based on relative measure. So option A is the right answer. Ratio analysis is based on relative measure. Next, question number 49. The person interested in analysis of financial statements can be grouped as who? Question number 14. Who is interested in the interpreting the financial statements? Owners, that is equity shareholders or investors of the company. Creditors. Creditors are interested in analyzing the financial statements because they have given credit to the company. They will be worried about not worrying. They will be they want to know about the financial statement of the business, that is how well the business is performing. Then financial executives, because financial executives are who plans whether to invest in the particular business or not. So option A, B, C, all are right. So option D is the right answer, all of the above. So all these people will be interested in the analyzing the financial statements. Next, question number 50. The term operating profit means profit before interest and tax. What is meant by operating? Profit which has been derived from running a business, that is running the core business. So operating is the core business. Operating activity is the core business activity of the business. So by running the operating activity, what is the profit? It is nothing but EBIT, earnings before interest and tax. So profit before interest and tax is called operating profit. Next question, I'm moving on to question number 51. Debt equity ratio is an example of, see, what is debt and equity? It is long-term financing. So option B, that is long solvency ratio. So that is the debt equity ratio. In cash flow statement, cash includes, in a cash flow statement, cash includes cash on hand and also demand deposits with bank. Both will be included in the cash flow statement as cash. So option C is the right answer. Cash on hand and demand deposits with bank. Demand deposit is nothing but deposits with bank, which is also we call as cash at bank. So cash on hand and cash at bank put together is the cash in the cash flow statement. So that is question number 52. Option C is the right answer.